At the bottom they came with a strange suddenness on the grass of Rohan. It swelled like a great green sea up to the very foot of the Emmen Mule. Welcome to Tales of Vardar, where we discuss and explore Middle-earth. Today's video is the second of a two-part series about the origins and history of Rohan. If you haven't seen last week's video, the link is in the description. Today we carry on with the place that we left off last week, the Battle of the Field of Kelbrant. The North army, led by the ruling Steward Kirin, counterattacked and was driven into the wold. At this time, Earl the Young and hundreds of riders came from the north. This action saved Gondor from utter destruction, though many died, such as Boromir. As a reward, Kirin invited Earl on Amon Anwar over the tomb of Elendil, and he swore mutual alliance between the two peoples. They also agreed that the two kingdoms would send aid to each other. The signal that help was needed was the red arrow, a symbol of danger. For faster communication between the two allies, the warning beacons of Gondor were used. These beacons were placed on 7 hills along the northern ridge of the White Mountains. Earl spoke his oath in his native tongue, whilst Kirin spoke his in Quenya, invoking the name of Elendil and Eri. Here begins the real history of Rohan. Earl moved his people to Caernarfon, displacing the Dunlendings, which had already lived there. Earl also built the first city of Rohan, Aldburg. He lost his life fighting the Easterlings in the world. Migrations were continued to the days of the second king, Bregor, who defended the borders against the Dunlendings and Easterlings, and drove the remaining Orcs and Balkoth off the world. Bregor also built the Golden Hall of Medusel, and made Edoras the capital of Rohan. Bregor's youngest son, Eofor, is the ancestor of Eärmund of Eastfold, the father of Eomer. At a feast celebrating the construction of Medusel, Bregor's son, Baldur, being drunk, vowed to traverse the paths of the dead. Baldur, not wanting to break his promise, entered the paths of the dead, and was never seen again. Bregor died from grief the next year. His second son, Aldor, succeeded him. King Aldor was the founder of a golden age in Rohan's history, during which he completed Rohan's conquest of the east of Isen, and the Rohirrim increased greatly in numbers. It was he who succeeded in driving all the remaining Dunlendings from his realm. Rohan continued to prosper under Goldwine's rule, but as the guard of the borders lessened, the Dunlendings slowly began to return to north and westfold, settling in the areas around Isengard and on the south eaves of Fangorn Forest. There a powerful Dunlendish force had been established, and King Daryl was forced to ride northwards, and he defeated his enemies, but he could not recapture the Ring of Isengard. The following years, the Dunlendings harassed and mingled with the Rohirrim. The first line of kings lasted for 249 years, until King Helm Hammerhand. Freka tried to intimidate Helm, but was killed by Helm's own hands. This earned him the name Hammerhand. In 2758, Rohan was invaded by Dunlendings under Wulf, son of Freka. Wulf took Edoras, killing Halef, Helm's son. The king, Helm Hammerhand, took refuge in the Hornburg until reinforcements from Dunharrow arrived a year later and defeated the invaders. During the long winter, Helm's son Hammer died. Helm would often go out and attack the Dunlendings. During one night, Helm did not return. His people found him frozen. With his son's dead, Helm's sister son, Freolaf, became king. In a daring raid, Freolaf recaptured Edoras and managed to reclaim it. He eventually drove the Dunlendings back across the river Isen, freeing all of Rohan. The Rohirrim now kept a strong force in North Westfold. However, at some time, King Folkwine would need the help of Gondor to drive some of them from the area. It was soon after that Saruman arrived and took over Isengard, and was welcomed as a strong ally, since it would take Rohan close to 200 years to recover its strength after the invasion. For 2 generations, many thousands of orcs tried to claim a refuge in the White Mountains and troubled the Rohirrim. King Britta fought them off, and when he died, it was believed Rohan was free of orcs. They were not entirely driven from the White Mountains until 2864 of the Third Age by Folker. Folkwine, son of Folker, had twin sons, Folkred and Fastred. Upholding the oath of El, they rode to the aid of Gondor, and both were slain in the battle with the Haradrim. They were laid to rest where they fell, at the crossings of Poros. Their burial mounds were called Haldinganor, the Mound of the Twins. During Thengil's reign, a mysterious northerner that called himself Vorongil entered his service and rode with him for some time. Around 2960, Saruman started to harass Rohan, and in 3014 he began using his influence to weaken the king, Théoden, as part of a campaign to invade or take over the kingdom. In 1319, he launched an invasion of Rohan. Théoden's son Theodred was killed during the first battle of the Fords of Isen. After Gandalf arrived with the 3 hunters, Théoden was healed of Saruman's influence. The Rohirrim rode to seek aid in Helm's Deep. The following day they met the scout Ceorl, who had been sent out by Erkenbrand to warn Éomer about Saruman's army. They arrived at Helm's Deep on the 3rd of March. In the middle of the night the siege began, and when battering rams attacked the gate, Gimli saved Éomer's life. The battle continued throughout the night, with even more attackers scaling the walls with large ladders. With the help of the device of Saruman, the orcs caused an explosion under the wall that made a wide hole in it. From then on, the attackers could not be stopped, and the defenders were separated. Éomer and Gimli retreated to the glittering caves, whereas Aragorn and Legolas defended the Hornburg. The battle seemed lost, when at dawn Gandalf returned with Erkenbrand and 1,000 riders from Westfold. Together they drove the enemies out of the deep and into a forest of Huons that had arrived during the night, and from which no orc returned. With the lighting of the beacons, Théoden mustered the Rohirrim at Dunharrow. There, Gimli, Legolas, Aragorn, and the Great Company parted with the Rohirrim, going through the paths of the dead. Théoden rode with an army to Minas Tirith and helped break its siege in the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, where he was slain by the Witch King of Angmar. At this battle, Éowyn, Shield Maiden of Rohan, and Meriadoc, Brandybuck of the Shire, killed the Witch King of Angmar. Éomer, the nephew of the king, then succeeded to the throne, beginning the third line. Éomer rode with the armies of Gondor to the gates of Mordor and took part in the final battle with the forces of Sauron, who was defeated when the ruling ring was destroyed. The rule of the Stewarts of Gondor was now over. King Éomer and the new king of Gondor, Aragorn II, renewed their oath of alliance and reaffirmed Ciaran's grant of Caernarfon to the Rohirrim. But though Sauron had perished, Éomer often fulfilled the oath of Eorl and went with King Elessar far into the east and south. On the 10th of August, the funeral of Théoden took place, and Éomer announced the betrothal of Éowyn to Faramir, the Steward of Gondor and Prince of Ithilien. When the feast was over, Éomer and Éowyn gave Merry the name Holdwine of the Mark, and the Horn of the Mark, an heirloom of the House of Eorl. Éomer was known by Éomer Eärdig, or the Blessed, because during his reign Rohan recovered from the hurts of the war. In 3021 of the Third Age, he wedded Princess Lothliriel, daughter of Prince Imrahil of Dor Amroth, whom he had met during his stay in Gondor, and she bore him a son, Elfwine the Fair. In 63 of the Fourth Age, Eomer, presumably feeling death coming near him, asked the hobbits to visit him one last time. Both Merry and his friend Pippin came to Rohan and stayed with him until the autumn of that year, when King Eomer died. King Eomer had reigned for 65 years, longer than any other king of Rohan save Aldor the Old. His son Elfwine the Fair became king of Rohan. After the downfall of Sauron, Gimli led a party of the dwarfs of Erebor to Aglarond, the glittering caves of the White Mountains within the realm of Rohan. Thank you for watching this week's video. Please like and subscribe.